What's up, YouTube? Sideline Eli here, back with my guy Vic, episode 7 of Sideline Chatter. We got a nice full slate to talk about today. We're going to be talking some NFL coaching. We're going to be talking the playoffs, of course, because we're still right in the thick of it. Then we're also going to add a little NBA into here just to spice things up a little bit. So we're going to start off here with a lot of coaching moves are on the move already. So Vic, kick us off. What you got?
So the market for a head coach has been wild this time of year. The season's not even over yet, and as soon as it seemed the regular season was done, every coach was available. Starting with the Lions, because they both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson were the hottest on the market, especially with how that Lions team performed all regular season. Granted, they didn't perform in the playoffs, but we'll get to that. And they were like pretty much the first two, like we gotta get, and the teams like the Cowboys, the Jets, the Bears, those are all teams that need new head coaches because lo and behold, that they needed them bad. They were never those teams are not going nowhere. They haven't been going anywhere for the past like what 10, 20 years. So a fresh change is very needed. And I wanted to start off with a couple of changes that we had for the Patriots. So obviously, I've mentioned we hired Mike Vrabel. I've given my
I
thoughts
like
on that
that.
last episode. If you haven't seen those, please check that episode out.
In the description below.
And with him coming back, we have two more people that we hired too. We have a new offensive coordinator who is not new, and Josh McDaniels, and we have a defensive coordinator, Terrell Williams.
So how do you feel about those hires? Do you like them? Do you not like them? How do you feel they
I like
complement Mike?
I like Terrell Williams because him and Vrabel have had that chemistry in the NFL for a very long time, and I do have faith in with two defensive coaches, like our defense is gonna skyrocket. Obviously, we have Christian Gonzalez who had a torn ACL his rookie year, but he was lighting up receivers on the other end. No one was he was pretty much like a no fly zone on the left side. But he got hurt, comes back this year with Gerard Mayo's type of scheme. Doesn't work. But that doesn't mean he played bad by any
Yeah, he,
means.
he still had a decent season.
Yeah, and he's slated for a comeback player of the year this year with
I saw that.
Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, and all them.
I'm not huge on the list this year, but that's a different topic for a different day.
So having both those coaches being like as strongly defensive as they are, I could see him and our other defenses or our other defensive pieces get back together and make this Patriots team what it should be. Like I know with Tom Brady, it's like, oh, we have Gronk, we have Edelman, we have, all these offensive weapons. But everyone sleeps on the defense though. I like when's the last time that you've heard the Patriots defense ever be good?
They say defense wins championships. Let me ask you. We talked about it a little bit on the episode last week where you're still very much wide receiver. If they do elect to go defense now, does this kind of double defensive duo, maybe that's the identity, knowing that you have the quarterback in place, does it kind of make you feel a little bit better if they do go defense in the first round?
It does not because I still think we need an offensive piece. Where we lack offensively is where Drake May needs to succeed at. And he's been successful with what he's been given,
Twos and
albeit
threes.
yeah, albeit pretty much trash. Some of them should be in the practice squad. They shouldn't be in my opinion. And with I feel like with McMillan, he'd be nice, but the AJ Brown rumblings still piling. They're getting even louder. So there's potential that AJ Brown's just sitting out. Maybe if you guys beat him
I would
this
say if there's
weekend,
a little heartbreak this weekend, things might heat up even more.
that'd make me happy. You guys beat him. I get AJ Brown. Win-win for everyone except for the Eagles. And I still think McMillan is that guy. Like you just don't form like that in college and just not get that type of consideration. Like I said, Abdul Carter, he's one of the top edges in the draft. He's very, very sound in with what he does from Penn State, but I just don't think we need him. And that also comes at the expense of later round draft picks are known to perform too at the defensive line or offensive line type scheme.
That's true, especially with the
Obviously,
double defensive coaches going on. They can get the most out of those types of players. Absolutely.
Exactly. Like TJ Watt, he wasn't the first round pick, was he?
Don't remember actually. Look
You
that
look
up.
that up for me.
I will keep
'Cause
going.
I don't think he was, but you're gonna find talent
He
around the
was.
edge, and
He was
he
the
was.
he was the 30th pick though, very very end of the first.
Okay, so he was barely a first round pick. I mean, still a first, but he really wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
So like that's my point though. Like with the farther back draft, you'll be able to find like your players. They might not be like star players, like the Trey Hendricksons or there's a guy on the lines I can't think of right now, but he's the guy that Aiden Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson. I was getting ready to have a brain fart too.
But that's not to say like the guys that you might not find in like the later rounds aren't just as good.
And I
Like
mean,
you
you could
said, we
also
still
wind up with the Chase Young, no disrespect.
exactly like we still have the whole off season. I know we're still slated might even get T Higgins. So I mean, if we don't go get McMillan, then we better get AJ Brown and T Higgins, 1 and 2,
That would be
right there.
crazy. I want T myself, but that would be a crazy duo with Drake May.
But and then I know you guys have like the third most cap space, but you can offer a little bit extra that money. That's really I think both of them are like we want to play and we want to get paid. Drake
Oh
May at
yeah,
quarterback, they're gonna play and they're gonna get paid.
absolutely.
It reminds me like Brock Purdy, except for the fact that Brock Purdy he kind of got thrown into a situation, but he's made the most of it. I think he's gonna get paid this year too. I hope he gets
Most
paid.
likely, yeah. Somebody's gonna do it. It's gonna be the
But
49ers.
being like a small quarterback and having like offensive weapons like that, like with him, he had Debo Samuel, George Kittle, uh,
Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk, like just vast amount of talent. Now with Drake May, you set him up with AJ Brown, uh, T Higgins, Hunter Henry. 'Cause Hunter Henry is that guy. He was like
He
I
is.
think he was our leading receiver.
Oh yeah, I'm
Like
pretty sure.
he,
Yeah, I think he was. We talked about it last episode.
and then I know we have Austin Hooper at the 2, but like we could run that Gronk and Aaron type offense. Pretty cool. And with Josh McDaniels, he knows that offense. He's had quarterbacks like Drake May. Because Drake May, he is kind of like a little reminiscent of like Tom Brady when he's in that. Like if you ever like watch his games, like he's not afraid and he'll get the ball to everyone. He's not just looking for one guy. Like oh who's my favorite receiver. With
Drake
Tom, it was like
Drake's got a
with Tom, it was
cannon on
like
him though.
he has a cannon, but Joe Milton has a bigger cannon on him. I think he had like one of the biggest arms in the draft, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the biggest. But that was the
I know
difference
he
between
threw the
Tom. Like Tom could get it out there, but he was more of a beat you with his mind, more of an intermediate guy. And again, not that he couldn't throw the deep ball, but you get a guy like Drake May. If he compare him to someone like Tom Brady, if he can hit that level, Tom Brady with Drake May's arm would actually be insane to think about.
I was thinking in my head though, like trade up Travis Hunter. I've had a trade scenario in my head. Trade the Titans Joe Milton, give him some picks, maybe some futures, maybe like another player or two. That Travis Hunter pick.
That would
And in my opinion, that doesn't sound bad because Joe Milton, he's going to start over Will Levis. I mean, we're not right. If you're starting Will Levis over Joe Milton, you're crazy. You're crazy as hell. But like, if you've seen that Week 18 tape, and even a preseason and like his college tape at a Tennessee, like he's that guy. Like he's strong arm, very accurate down the field, and he has legs.
he shot his
Like
draft
he'll
stock or his not his draft stock, but he shot his stock way up with that game for sure.
oh man, he played unbelievable. It was showing he was pretty much playing like a elite Lamar, scrambling, rushing, finding his people, which is what obviously Lamar didn't wasn't able to do as well this weekend. But all things considered, I really do think like maybe we could trade up to get that number 1 pick and get Travis Hunter. I don't know. Anything can happen in this draft.
I don't think that the quarterbacks in this draft are like a must have. So I do think that teams, might be willing to swap out of that 1, 2, 3 spot. I do think that's a possibility.
Outside of like Cam Ward and Shador Sanders, not really.
And again, I don't think these are like must have number one overall picks. So yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. One thing I do think is interesting. pertaining to all these coaching hires, and we have a couple more to go through, of course, is the fact that Cliff Kingsbury is probably one of the hottest tickets on the in the market, but he made it very clear that he's not even entertaining these ideas until our season's officially over. So I was kind of surprised to see all these teams just go ahead and fill their spots. I guess it was more of a we don't want to lose our guy potentially, but interesting indeed. It is. There's not a whole lot of spots left.
Same thing with like what you saw at the Lions. Like the Commanders are a whole 180 around what they were last year. Hell, what they've been for the past however many years,
30,
like way too long.
33 years.
I'm like, part of me is happy that like I was right about the Dan Quinn part and you weren't because I was like, man, Dan Quinn's gonna be your coach. Like
I had to
I
take
wasn't.
my L. I did. I was not a big at first, not a huge fan of Dan Quinn or Cliff Kingsbury. I took a big fat L on both of those, but I'm happy to take that. I am.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Well, and with how I know he wanted to say wait until after the season, but now it's kind of like, well, not really a job's going to be open after the season. Maybe the Cowboys are still going to have one, but they'll play for Dak Prescott. Doesn't even run close to what the offensive scheme he would be run like he does with Jaden.
I'd have to check, but people probably don't 100% realize, but he is still getting paid by the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh yeah,
So he's
a
got
lot of
that
that's
coming in, and then the Commanders checks coming in. I don't think he's too pressed to leave Jaden Daniels yet, so I'm happy on that end.
because it's the same with Robert Saley. Actually, he's going to be back in the 49ers as a defensive coach after getting fired wrongly by the Jets, in my opinion.
I agree. That was an Aaron Rodgers decision, 100%.
Yeah, and it's like, what do you want him to do with a team that's, getting hurt and can't find ways to win? Like he did better with Zach Wilson than he did with Aaron Rodgers. Like Rodgers is just kind of like he's regressed so much.
It's
Like I don't know if it's
42, 41, 42.
somewhere around there, but it's like I don't know how much ayahuasca he's been taking, but it's like his time is ticking way faster than I think he realizes it. And obviously it sucks to see, but I also don't like seeing head coaches getting fired for no reason. So, in one way it could be karma, one way it could just be how it is. But I know the Jets hired Aaron Glenn, and I don't like this move.
I don't really care for that one either.
And obviously, like Sportsnet has it rated as an A on their website, but I don't. My issue with it is that Robert Saley was a defensive coach. Like that man with the 49ers during those years, crazy. That defense was eating people alive. And that's with Jimmy G at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like they were killing teams. And the Jets defense, I did like the Jets defense. I thought they were a sound defense. I thought they played well. Sauce Gardner locked down cornerback, but they couldn't win because they didn't have the quarterback. And then when they had the quarterback, he gets hurt 4 minutes into the game. And then the next year, playing off of a bum ACL. Oh, well, we're gonna get Devontae Adams. We're gonna get this person. You get that person, and they don't even use Garrett Wilson, another player who might come to the Patriots
I don't know, man.
if
I
if things don't work out.
I heard he's digging Jaden Daniels.
Oh, as he should. But I knew like at the start of the season, it was kind of those were also some of the talks too. It's like not happy here. He might try to stay in the division, a couple hours away.
I wouldn't hate it. I would not hate that. I don't know. The Jets just can't seem to get the head coach right. They go from what Adam Gase to Robert, and like you said, I agree. I don't think they gave him a fair shake at all. And to go from a defensive minded coach to another defensive minded coach when defense isn't really their issue,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's like
I don't
the
like it.
Patriots. Defense wasn't our big issue, but I mean, we didn't really rush the quarterback by any means. We weren't sacking anybody out the water. It's just kind of like they were just there, and if we get a pick, oh, it just happened to fall in our lap. And I hate thinking about this situation because this happens every single time. If a black coach lasts 1 year, gets fired, not a good look. So
At all. It kind
Jets
of hurts
Jets
their chances moving forward too, which is another reason I really didn't like it.
and it happens so often and it's so common. And like I don't like want to make it like a racing, but like it's kind of like it happens every time.
They get a shorter leash.
And it's like I really just don't agree with this at all. I wish he would have. I honestly wish he would have went to the Cowboys instead. But
I don't know about that one because I like him as a coach. I think I prefer Dallas to keep getting the coach wrong. Although Mike McCarthy wasn't a bad coach, they didn't do bad with him. But I don't know if
I feel I think he hit his ceiling already, and it's kind of already that time.
I don't know if I'm ready to blame Dak Prescott. I think he is a lot better than people give him credit for, but they've had some really talented teams over there. And it's hard to kind of pinpoint who you want to throw the blame on. Is it the coach? Is it the quarterback? Is the defense not helping out the offense enough?
Definitely the
Um,
owner.
I was going to say, but being
It,
a Washington fan all my life, I can tell you that when the owner kind of sucks, just a trickle down effect. It is. And I think Cowboys fans, especially seeing what the Commanders have done pretty much overnight with a new owner, I think they're kind of starting to realize that Jerry's the problem.
yeah, because I think he tries to general manage the team too, even though he has his own general managers to pick and choose who he wants. He's like he wants to be more hands on, and it's like you can't. Gotta hire the people, gotta let them do it. 'Cause you can always just fire them.
But even
That's the
then,
beauty of
it's
being an
like
owner.
one thing I gave Dan Snyder credit for, which is crazy to say, but down the tail stretch of his tenure as the owner, he did kind of, for better or worse, he picked his guy and he let him do his thing. But the problem is that when you think you're the smartest guy in the room and you're actually probably one of the dumber guys in the room, even if you do sit back and let them do their job, you got to pick the right people, and you got to hope that Adam Peters never would have came to Washington with Dan Snyder in charge. He just wouldn't have,
Of
So
course not.
that's part of it as
The
well.
uh the Jaguars actually they missed out on a guy because of they're like, oh, this is your general manager. Oh, okay, cool. I'm not coming. And they ended up firing the general manager and getting Liam Cohen as
Well, what
coach.
wasn't it Cohen who was kind of like turned off by Bulk?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's a crazy situation actually, especially how that played out with Tampa Bay. It's rumors, of course. I don't know if it was ever substantiated, but I saw that what was it? Basically, they brought him in, that was their guy, and then bulk was an issue. So he was gonna re-up and become the highest paid coordinator, if I recall correctly, through Tampa Bay. But then when they
yep.
fired him and brought him back in, apparently Tampa Bay couldn't get a hold of Liam at all. I think that's wild.
That's actually that is like one of the craziest coaching debacles of this entire season so far. But I mean, it makes sense though. It's like like everyone sees the problem, and if the owner doesn't want to see the problem, you're gonna make them understand. Like, hey, if you want me, this is what I want. I need him gone. The fans, they don't even want him here. They want him gone. And so when you're not listening and when you're not like in your like organization like how you should be, or just giving too much faith to one guy, then you're not gonna succeed. I know with the cons, they do all they his son owns AEW and all that stuff. So obviously,
Yeah. The cons are
multiple
just
revenue everywhere. But it's the same with like wrestling, if you got a guy like I'm just like making an example. Roman Reigns was that guy for WWE. They invested into him when he was super young and not as
six
talented
years
as
ago,
like
right? 6, 7
how
years
long?
ago, I think. Like
Been long,
2018-ish, maybe.
like 9, 10 years.
Oh wow. Time flies.
It's been a long time. But even like when he was in the Shield, he wasn't the best member of the Shield, because Seth Rollins and John Moxley were more experienced. But when you got that island blood in you, you learn wrestling like it's like the back of your hand pretty much. And now look at him; he's one of the greatest performers. But that's like my example of that was just put the right guys in the right spot,
And let
give
him
them time to
flourish.
develop, let them learn. You're gonna flourish, and you're gonna succeed, and you're gonna see all the money come in.
I'm actually really glad you said that because it's actually I have a little bit of a hot take. I don't know if it really is a hot take on this whole coaching thing in general. I think teams are too quick to want to snatch up someone else's offensive coordinator. And especially when like you saw it with Cliff's first stint in Arizona, and that tends to be what happens. The hottest team, other teams that need a head coach kind of just try to pick off their OC or their DC, and sometimes it's the coach, it is. But I mean, a lot of the times we see it, especially when we're talking about offense. Defensive coordinators are a little bit of a different story, but offensive coordinators, you see it all the time. You're only really going to be as good or as bad as the quarterback is. And I do think a guy like Liam Cohen, no disrespect, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't see it. I don't. I don't think he had anything to really do with the fact that Baker Mayfield was never a bad quarterback. He just finally was in a good spot with good weapons. Chris Godwin, yes, he got injured. Mike Evans, yes, he missed some time. Bucks were a good offense. Baker Mayfield was a good quarterback. They just worked. I think, and I know Commanders fans were beating a dead horse here, but for everyone else not really in the know, we go back to Jay Gruden's staff, and they had all those superstars, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur. Those guys went and took jobs, but
Kyle Shanahan.
Shanahan, what I think is I think that teams really need to just start developing in-house, almost like you said. Look at your guys first and let them work their way up the chain. Because so many times we're picking just the hottest teams coordinators and then it fails. I don't get it. But that
I
seems
mean,
to kind of be the trend.
part of that is the blame on the Rams because you saw they went all in with Matt Stafford. No, they get a ring the next year.
I
Same
still
with
have
the Bucks.
my beef with
Same with
that.
the Bucks and the Bucks and Tom Brady. They get Brady and Gronk. The whole team builds around them, and obviously they get AB in offseason also. They win a championship. So it's like, oh, it's worked 2 years in a row. Maybe we should try this game plan. And in some cases, it's only worked for like to make it to the playoffs and make the team look a little more attractive. But ultimately, it's not like you're going to be a copy of the Bucks or the Rams.
No, they dropped Hall of Fame quarterbacks in there. I mean, you can make your argument if you think Matt Stafford's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think if you don't give him Hall of Fame, he's absolutely been elite for like 95% of his career. So you drop an elite quarterback into a pretty decent team already, and you get some good results.
Yeah, obviously, like none of them. Cooper Cup was pretty much the closest he's had to Megatron in a long time. Because whenever he had that 2,000 yard season,
Yeah, nah. It sucks how the Lions did Megatron. It does.
but I mean, he's still. I think he's a Hall of Famer, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if he's
Yes.
in it, but he should be. I mean, again, stats and accolades usually help. He didn't really win a whole lot, but it's undeniable that if that's my best receiver to ever play. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have the stats of a Jerry Rice or of a T.O., but just from a physical profile and the way he dominated the game, is there anyone better than Calvin
He's definitely
Johnson?
like a top. He's definitely a top five. Mine's always been Randy Moss,
I give you that.
but could
Randy's
be.
that dude. I just think
It's
Calvin was just a
little
physical
biased, but
specimen.
he was, and he's like I remember seeing the clips of him getting double teamed every play. Like
Didn't
he was getting
work,
the Aaron Donald treatment.
and it didn't work. It's like,
Uh,
DK Metcalf is the closest thing to a physical specimen in terms of size, strength, and speed, but he's just not the route runner, not the tactician. Like Calvin Johnson was everything wrapped into one. But
another couple coaches I wanted to mention though. Obviously, the Bears got Ben Johnson. The
yes, that's going to be big.
That'll be good. I think Caleb will have more success with that next year.
I'm still
The
iffy on
big
it, but I don't know how much I believe in Ben Johnson. When I said that'll be big, I meant more so of a big headline. I think I actually tweeted out that I give him 2 years, but we'll see.
the Bears do have, in my opinion, they do have offensive weapons.
They do
They just
absolutely.
they just gotta use them to their full potential.
Their offensive coordinator was terrible. I'm not a Caleb Williams hater. I know there's a lot of animosity between Caleb Williams, the Bears, and Commanders and Jaden Daniels. I'm not one of them. I saw some of them formations they were running out there, 2, 3 wide receivers stacked up all within 5 yards of it. No one's gonna play well with that. No, Jaden Daniels wouldn't have looked good in that offense, man. They needed a lot of overhaul, and I think Ben Johnson, that's where he really can. I have concerns of how good of a head coach he's gonna be. In terms of deploying his offensive philosophy, I think it's gonna do wonders for Caleb Williams.
Definitely. The Raiders, as of today's recording, they got Pete Carroll, the oldest head coach in the NFL right now. I think of all time too. I could be wrong about that.
I actually really like that. I mean, again, you're only gonna I mean, we saw with Bill Belichick, you're only gonna be as good or as bad as the quarterback you have. And Geno Smith is the I love Geno Smith, but he's kind of the definition of just middle of the road. So I like the hire because Pete Carroll's been there, done that. Super Bowl champion. He's been around elite players, Hall of Fame players. I think that's the exact guy that a team like the Raiders needs. A lot of chaos there. There's some pieces, but I feel like they need somebody that knows ball and can kind of be a leader of men, and really right the ship. I don't know if he's going to be the coach that's going to take him to the promised land 4 years from now. They have a lot of work to do, but I think they're very much kind of like a Dan Quinn almost, where they just need a guy to come in and change the culture. They really do.
He's also like he's one of the biggest hype coaches I've ever seen. Like,
I like Pete.
but even like with his age, like I feel like with
How old is
how
he?
he coaches and how he uplifts his players makes him
73.
one of he's 73. So he is like
73.
he is the oldest coach then, isn't he?
That has to be.
Like the way he uplifts his players, he's pretty much playing he exerts himself like he's part of the play. Like every play, he's like, "Yeah, you guys get him." He's cheering them on. He's on their butts. Like he really does care about who he plays for, who he's with, and he lets his guys know, like, "Hey, we're in this until the clock hits zero every week, and once that game's over, we're back to it." And that's the kind of coach that you want to have on your organization. That's the kind of coach players need because I mean, you give Geno Smith and the Seahawks anyone else, I don't know if they perform like they do.
I agree. Now, fun fact, uh Romeo Crennel, I don't know if I actually said his name right. He did hold the record as the oldest head coach in NFL history. He was the interim coach of the Texans in 2020 at 73 years old.
But
So,
not in the NFL.
no, that was for the Texans
Oh, okay.
in 2020. So, what did we say? Carroll was 22? 73. So, he should actually now hold that record, especially if
Yeah.
he lasts more than a year. So, he's not only the oldest coach in the NFL, but he actually will be the oldest head coach in NFL history.
Yeah, and I went to go see I just looked up the Tankathon to see their draft stock. I forgot because I wanted to see their pick, and they're at number 6. But I'm also seeing Travis Hunter's at number 4.
That's where you guys are at, right? Yeah. Or
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Like
I'll
it's
see
gonna,
it.
I think for the first time in a very long time, this is gonna be a very, very, I don't want to say first time chaotic draft, but it is gonna be a chaotic draft. I don't think anybody actually knows what's going on right now. Obviously, teams are gonna pick quarterbacks. Obviously, Sanders and Cam Wood are gonna be up there, but where's the question? I No disrespect to these guys, but I don't think either one of them are really worthy of to be honest with you, a top 5 pick. But we all know teams are gonna
Cam Ward is that dude.
I
I will say that. Cam
he
Ward
is
is him.
I like the
He
tape, I do.
39-7 touchdown interceptions. He threw for 43-13. And then Shador 41-34, 37-10.
It's hard because, may he rest in peace, but we saw Dwayne Haskins put up some crazy numbers at OSU, before he got drafted. And, it's one of those things to where they're not gonna be Jaden Daniels or even Caleb Williams or even Drake May. And I was a little bit wrong about that prospect class as well. I said I didn't really see anything super special, and I was dead wrong there. But one thing I did say was if I was going to take any of those 3 high, it was gonna be Jaden Daniels. And I said verbatim, if he can be developed into a franchise passer, he has MVP potential. He's like Lamar on steroids. I nailed that. I was wrong about not seeing anything special with him because this honestly might be the most special QB class ever. I don't run from my takes. That was definitely I was wrong. Um,
I
but
remember I was telling you, I was hyping it up. I was like, man, I really want
a
Jane
lot of
Daniels.
people
You
were.
guys are gonna get Jane Daniels, but I'm gonna get Drake May. So I mean, whatever. I was so hyped.
I will
But I
say,
was like,
go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say Jaden Daniels was my pick of the 3 for sure.
But I was like, man, I know. I was like, I don't want Caleb Williams. I don't need that nonsense. I know, like he's whatever he did at USC was whatever, but Jane Daniels was like my guy. Like that's. But I mean, we got Drake May, and then we got Joe Milton, who's he kind of is reminiscent of Jaden Daniels a little bit in terms of like style of play. Obviously, he's not Jaden Daniels, but he just has a cannon of an arm, and he can find that deep ball, and he can still scramble out and perform.
It'll be
So,
interesting to see. I would like to see. I think a smart play would be to maybe move Milton on draft night. Find a team that doesn't get their guy or still maybe needs a quarterback and see if you can move him there for. Obviously, he's not going to go for a first round pick, but you can get a day two pick. Might not be a bad idea.
well, I still think we should try to like make a big trade. Milton, some picks or whatever, just so we can make sure we get our guy. But if we don't, and luck beholds that we get Travis Hunter, then hey, I'll be happy then too. And then we get another year Joe Milton as our backup.
I
In
still
case
think
anything happens.
Travis should be a DB, man. I hate to say it, but I do.
I mean, he might try to want to play both. Because he's still listed as a cornerback wide receiver.
I
And he
think it'd
says
be
he wants to play
interesting.
both. So
I think he'd be the first pro to do it, wouldn't he? I don't know anyone else that's played both sides in the National Football League.
didn't Dion play both?
I don't know. I know he was DB. I don't know if he actually did. He actually ever? I mean, consistently, not like just a play here and there. Did he? I don't know.
Dion in 1996, he became a full two-way player for the Dallas Cowboys.
There you go. So that would be
He was
very interesting indeed.
Yeah, so they said he was a starter on defense, but for most of his career, but he played a lot of offense as well.
Huh? I did not know that. I'm a casual apparently. A little bit out of my. When did he finish? He well, no, he played until like. Did he play until 2000? What was
He
his
played a
final
long.
season?
Dion's
Yeah.
Deion Sanders played until 2005.
Oh, 05. Wow. Yeah.
He was in there since 1989 for the
Damn.
Falcons. He was on 5 teams. He was on the formerly known as Redskins Commanders
Yeah, I did know
in
that.
2000.
That's why for some
Uh,
reason I thought that was it for him. I didn't know he played till '05. That's crazy.
well, he didn't play for like 4 years, and then
Okay. That makes
he was on
sense.
the
That makes a
which
lot of
is which
sense.
is such a weird like way to come back because he came back for 1 year and was playing nickelback.
It was probably one of those things to where he was just like, "Yeah, I could definitely do this," and then he went and did it and said, "I can't do that."
He played the full season.
Yeah, but
I'll give him credit.
like to the level he probably was wanting to play. It's kind of like Tyson fighting again, right? Like he was like, "Oh yeah, I could do this," and then you get out there and you're like, "All right, yeah, I'm a shell of myself." But
Kinda, yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, he did when he did come back that year. He did get a his ninth interception return touchdown. So
hey,
let's say he couldn't do it. It's just more like, yeah, I'm just tired of it.
definitely.
But
Now, did we miss any coaching swaps hires? I don't think so. Did we cover them all?
yeah, there's only one more I saw that I was attracted to, which was the Bengals getting a new defensive coordinator,
Who?
and from Al Golden. He's from Notre Dame.
Oh, oh,
Now,
that's
obviously,
interesting.
like so, I don't know if you keep up with college ball,
I do
but
not. I'm a casual,
college
actual casual there.
college is over now.
That I knew.
Notre Dame lost to Ohio State.
Yes, I did see that.
Not a. It was not a good. It was not good. At first, it was crazy. Notre Dame started out the game 18 plays, like a 10-minute drive for the first 7 points. And you're thinking, and it was like, wow, this is going to be like a heater, but it was pretty much a barn burner once Ohio State got the ball.
Yeah. I mean,
But
personally, I don't have any allegiance, but I was pulling for OSU just because that's where my guy Terry's from. So I'm sure he was
uh,
happy.
and Notre Dame is one of those teams that's more defensive minded, like Penn State, because they took Penn State down to the wire. I think they went to overtime and won by 3 or something like that.
Now, did Notre Dame have the best defense in the country or no?
No,
No. Okay.
that's still Penn State.
Yeah. Okay.
They were lights out all year, pretty much. Like they were really good, but their team was very solid this year. Like they deserved to be in the championship, but it was just Ohio here this year. I didn't have
Football's
faith in them
tough,
because they
man.
can't beat Michigan. But where I was going with that though was that Notre Dame defensive coach, you get a Al Golden coming from Notre Dame to the professionals with like the Bengals. They should be better this year and help Joe Burrow actually look like an MVP and not lose like a loser.
Yeah, they were
I know it's
bad
I
this year.
and to be honest, Joe Burrows has MVP stats. He's blowing out the water,
He is
pass
in the
yards.
conversation, isn't he? Yeah, I think he's
So
in the no, I could have sworn he was.
he's in the comeback player of the year conversation.
Maybe
He's not
that's what I saw. Maybe that's where I saw him then.
but he's not MVP because he's pretty bad. Like Jamar Chase, he's he's in the conversation for offensive player of the year. He's not going to win it because Saquon's 2K yards.
Yeah, yeah,
Jamar
you're
Chase
not.
is a triple crown.
He had an insane year.
So
He's so good.
them LSU boys are built different. That's best college teams of all time in my opinion. That's better than the 04-05 Hurricanes, better than the 08-09 Florida Gators. And I love that Gators team so much. I'm a big team. I've always been a big Tim Tebow fan, but that LSU team was just crazy.
That's crazy though. Both Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are up for Aaron Ground Player of the Year. It's Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, Jamar Chase, and Jameer Gibbs.
But
Aaron Ground Player of the Year,
oh,
which
okay,
I
okay,
didn't know
okay.
was a thing.
I think that's just like one of them like fake awards or whatever. Like be like, hey, we're gonna give you this. It'll make you look better.
I was
And
right. It is Joe Burrow is up for MVP. It's MVP is Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and Lamar Jackson. I was like,
oh,
I could have sworn I saw his name.
how
Making me
can you
lose
be
my mind.
MVP and come back player of the year?
I don't know. He's up for 3 awards. He's up
No,
for
everyone still thinks Lamar Jackson's gonna.
he's up for
I don't.
4 awards. What? He's in the MVP award list. He's in the Offensive Player of the Year list. So is Jamar Chase. So that's 2. Comeback Player of the Year
Comeback
is
player of the year.
3, and then we just said he's also up for
Aaron.
FedEx Aaron Ground Player of the Year. That is insane.
Oh yeah, that's why because it's a FedEx. It's a FedEx.
That is
That makes sense.
FedEx Aaron
I mean,
Ground.
that's just one of those wishy washy.
True. It's just on the NFL page. That's why I said I didn't even know that was a thing. That is insane, and they were bad. It's crazy.
Yeah, but they weren't bad because of the offense.
No.
Part just
That still might have been the Commanders' best game of the season. Was that week 3, Monday night, Cincinnati?
might have. I mean, that might have just been a top 5 game.
It really
I
might
think
have
that's
been.
like one of the. I think that might have been the best Amazon Prime game. Oh wait, was that a Monday game?
I think that was Monday night. That was Monday night.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I mean, all these primetime games that we've gotten have been good anyways.
Hey, look, this is a good segue for our next conversation. Now, I'm a little bit disappointed because personally, I like 1 p.m. games. The Commanders are going to be in a lot of primetime spots next season. So hopefully we'll get some more juicy Thursday night football games. But speaking of juicy, how about that Lions Commanders game? One of the
Yeah, I
best
got my
games of the
prediction wrong.
year.
Got my prediction wrong.
I was close until the Commanders just decided to blow the top off the thing. I said 33-28 Commanders over the Lions. The Lions hit 31, so they hit a field goal over my projection, but the Commanders put up 45. I think it's exactly what I expected, with the exception of the Commanders, like I said, 28-point second quarter and just blowing the top off that thing. We struggle against the run. We're wishy-washy. Perfect example. Last time we played, Saquon Barkley had over 100 yards in the first half, and then he rushed for like 14 carries for like 30 yards or something in the second half. It was insane. They're super wishy-washy in the run game, and I think a lot of Lions fans think that Ben Johnson was checked out. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, but it was a really weird game to see. The Lions, at one point for the majority of the game, were averaging 9 yards per carry on the ground. And you're like, oh, yeah, you can, whatever. That's not sustainable. They finished the game at 8.7 yards per carry. They only ran 23 times. So it's one of those things to where it's like at no point were they completely out of it until the very end. And he just didn't run the ball. He kept throwing that thing. And personally, I think it was obviously an accident, so it was very unfortunate. But the Luvu hit on the pick six, he hit him square in the chest. But helmet did make contact with the face mask. I personally believe Jared Goff had a concussion because after that hit, he was like respectfully bad. Just, I mean, don't get me wrong. That throw before he took the shot was bad. He overthrew, I forget who he was going for at that point in
Amon St.
time.
Brown.
Was it? He overthrew St. Brown by about 6 yards. I mean, he threw it right to Quan Martin. So that throw in and of itself was garbage, but he wasn't bad. That was his first mistake of the game, and they could have lived with that. But I think he got concussed, and obviously they are not going to have Teddy Two Gloves in there for the rest of the game. So he came back out. He's a warrior. He wanted to do his thing. Finished the game with 313, but one touchdown, three interceptions. What, they fumbled the ball twice, I think. They finished with 5 total turnovers. That's so far, that's been the difference in these playoff games. The teams turning the ball over gets, sounds like a broken record, but it really is. I mean, if you want to win the game, you gotta secure the football. You can't be turning it over, especially not 5 times.
Well, you've
And
seen the plays that Dan Campbell was running. Like he was running like, and that's pretty much how he always does. He runs like the craziest shit, craziest stuff. Like it's just like it's like mind blowing. Like what he does. Like he's doing a Jameer Gibbs hike to a Jamison Williams run around for like a 61-yard
64, yeah,
touchdown.
that was crazy. That pissed me off a lot, actually.
I like that celebration. I was like, dang, he's really giving it to y'all like that. 2 pumps.
And
Ooh.
then, well, then remember they all saw the Key and Peele skit because they came in before that third pump hit. But I think that's like it's kind of like the Commanders, where it seems at this point, and it has a lot to do with the fact that we don't have a very good kicker. We're on kicker like number 5 or 6 at this point. We go for it pretty much every time on fourth down, as long as it's not something crazy like 4th and 12. And you can live and die by that. And I think that their craziness, it got them, like you said, it got them that 61-yard touchdown for Jameson. But it also is what ultimately killed them. I still cannot, for the life of me, understand. There was about 12 minutes left in the game. They were only down by 10. Why they ran a wide receiver, why they had Jameson Williams throw that pass, I don't know. He's not a quarterback. But also, it is on him as well. I mean, he threw that thing into double coverage, man. Like not even close to open. And he throws an interception. And ultimately, I think that was the official dagger for them. Like I said, they were down 10, but they were moving. 12 minutes to go. You go and put up even a field goal, you got a ball game and still half a quarter left. I still don't think they were stopping Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels probably played the best game of his career.
Saw his stats with him when he was in the blitz.
Oh,
Lights out.
immaculate. Immaculate. And it's crazy. I mean, the Commanders are red hot at the right time. De'Ami Brown has been having a breakout season during the playoffs. He did it again, 6 catches, 98 yards, didn't find the end zone. Terry McLaurin, 4 catches, 87 yards, did find the end zone.
You know who else
Zach
didn't find the end
Ertz,
zone?
Alameda
Jameis.
Zaccheaus. I know
Again.
you had that
Because you
parlay
put
going,
him
man.
again.
It's crazy. He had 2 targets too, no catches. And which is really crazy is he's a pretty good weapon. Especially as like a third guy. I cannot believe in a 45-point blowout, not a blowout, but in a 45-point game, he didn't even have a reception. That's definitely, I think, not going to happen again. I think he's going to be a little more active against Philly, but
I said the same thing last week. Look where that took me.
third time's a charm, right? You got to do it one more
Yeah.
time. You got to do it one more time.
Think
But
that third time's a charm, though, like I do. You guys are 0-2 against Philly.
no, we're 1-1. We beat him the second game. However, Jalen Hurts went out that game, and Kenny Pickett did some Kenny Pickett stuff. So it's tough. It is.
But back to the Lions and Commanders game. I remember seeing the highlights. I did see the Jared Goff hit. You know, it wasn't anything like egregious or nothing, but definitely like stood tall taking the tackle. definitely, obviously the height difference was there, right under the chin.
It should
I
have
do,
been
I,
a flag, which would have
I
wiped
do
away a pick
agree.
6.
I do agree. Like, A, you guys probably would have scored a touchdown on the drive either way, and B, I do think he was probably concussed though. I don't think that he was like in his right mind,
No. He just
like
didn't
out
look
there.
right for the rest of the game. He looked I'm not trying to be disrespectful. He just looked awful. He had some plays, he had some throws. He had a couple of nice little drives down the stretch. It was debatably garbage time. Like game wasn't over, but I don't think we won the game. I don't think guys were out
Yeah,
there pressed to lock down, you know what I mean? But,
and
it's
then
similar to Jalen, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
yeah, and then obviously Jameson Williams, he throws that crazy interception too. But Jameer Gibbs never even turned around for the ball, so I'm wondering if he was even supposed to get in the first
I still don't know what was going on with that play. Like I said, it's not even the fact that they did it, but Jameer Gibbs had 14 carries, 105 yards, 2 tutties, 7.5 yards. He ran 14 times, and each time he got the ball, he averaged at least 7.5 yards per carry, and they didn't run him 25 times in that game. That's insane.
place. And that was kind of like the whole weekend. It felt like every running back wasn't really get outside of Saquon, of course. It wasn't like they were getting it. Like whether it was Jameer Gibbs or whether it was Derrick Henry because he only had 16 carries
I
in
do
his
want to talk
game.
about that game. That game infuriated me. We'll talk about that in a little while as
James
well.
Cook, James Cook, he's not really getting the handoffs either. Josh Allen's getting all the touchdowns.
Yeah, but I mean, were
Still,
any of those guys averaging 7.5? Derrick Henry might have been doing something crazy that because of that 160-some-yard drive. But if when every time Jameer Gibbs touched the ball, I was scared because he did something crazy every time. It's like I said, the fact that he didn't, like the Commanders, Brian Robinson toted it 15 times, Jaden Daniels 16, and then the rest of the guys had 11. We ran 42 times to their 23. We averaged 4.3 to their 8.7. We both scored 3 rushing touchdowns. But the fact that I'm saying the fact that Jameer Gibbs didn't tote it at least 20 times, I would have given it to him 25. That was just me. I can't believe they didn't. I'm not complaining, but that was like I said. I have my thoughts on Ben Johnson. I'll say it. I'll say that much.
I don't know what they thought was going to happen with if they were just trying something different. Because obviously, you guys weren't even favored to win. You guys haven't been favored at all in these entire playoffs.
Side note: I did just see Jalen Hurts does plan to wear a knee brace this weekend.
They're
PCL actually.
oh,
From what I saw.
it's actually a pretty important part of the body,
Well,
especially if you're going to run.
I guess this is a decent segue because we talked enough, I think, about the Lions' downfall. Um, I did actually thoroughly watch every game except for Chiefs Houston. I was a little busy during that game. Um, Eagles Rams. We both picked the Rams here. So Jalen Hurts has not been playing all that well in the postseason in general, but he was clearly he took a nasty shot. Knee got rolled up, bent up, whatever you want to say. And he clearly was not himself. The biggest red flag for me was when I don't know if you saw, but he took that sack, and that honestly should have been it should have been really the Eagles' downfall. Rams should have gotten the ball back, just got 2 points, gotten the ball back. They could have scored. They really could have put the dagger in, but that's neither here nor there. You could tell that Jalen Hurts was just hurt. You really could. I genuinely thought Kenny Pickett was going to play. I did. That's how bad it was. That is not a sack. He didn't even try to avoid it. It wasn't good pass pro. I mean, they broke through pretty quickly, but it wasn't like botched right off the rip. He would have had time. He had time to see it coming. And I'm telling you, 3 weeks ago, that's not a safety. He's running, extending the play at the bare minimum, extending it, and getting the ball out of his hand out of bounds. But it's almost like he just physically couldn't. So he just kind of took the safety, which was crazy to me because taking a sack is one thing. It can be the smart thing to do sometimes instead of trying to force something. But when it's a safety, and I cannot fully remember it was later in the game. I can't remember if it was fourth quarter or not, but it was later in the game. I mean, you never want to take a safety, but like I said, it was very much so that could have been the end of our season type of play, depending on how the Rams responded with it, and they didn't respond well at all. Um, but yeah, it was very evident to me that Jalen Hurts, he's hurt. It's he's hurt. His mobility is going to I don't want to say gone, but I also I want to tread lightly, but
Well, he's not going to rush 7 times for 70 yards.
I don't think it's going to be a factor
Sure.
this weekend. I think it's going to be, in my humble opinion, all the Commanders have to do to go to the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley. That's all you got to do. If they
22
can,
carries, 205 yards.
if they can make Jalen Hurts sit in the pocket and throw for most of the game, Commanders should go to the Super Bowl. Unless Jaden Daniels just absolutely stinks it up, and I don't think that's going to happen because I feel bad for them. They're division rival, and they're standing in our way to our first Super Bowl in 33 years. So I hate saying I feel bad for them, but I do. I never want to see a team. I always want to beat a team at their best. I mean, I know this late in the season that's kind of impossible because they play a brutal sport. But I don't want to beat a banged up Jalen Hurts so everyone can say, "Oh, you're lucky to be there." Yeah, they're already saying that. "Oh, Tampa Bay, who are they?" "Oh, what is it, 16 players for defense in Detroit were on IR. So now it's going to be, if we do advance, it's going to be, oh, Jalen Hurts on one leg. So it's like, it sucks. But I mean, you play who's in front of you. But I think that's all the Commanders have to do is just focus on Saquon Barkley this Sunday. Because
Whole identity is stealing wins.
yeah, that's your motto, man. And you nailed it. You nailed
I'm
it.
telling you, I said it all year. I was like, hey, get him how you get him. It's been, I told you that since the Bears Hail Mary. And because I remember you were pretty upset with how that game was. I was like, look, this is kind of what you guys do. You guys
I
figure out
was
ways to steal wins. And ever since then, every chance you could.
probably at least 4 or 5 since then. I mean, you nailed that for sure. A
Which
lot of
isn't a bad
that,
identity to have.
it's not because it was, I think it was last 2 seasons ago, maybe? Time flies. But I think the Giants started like 6-2. It was one of those things to where they were stealing games. They were getting the ball was bouncing their way, and people were like, "Oh, luck or real." A lot of this, and I was worried that was I was worried, excuse me, that was us. That we were just getting lucky. But I mean, a lot of this comes down to just Jaden Daniels being potentially, at least for this season, potentially the best quarterback to ever do it late in the game. It's when the game matters the most. He even if he's having an off game by his standards, it's like he turns into the greatest thing you've ever seen. So that is a lot of it. They steal him because when they get into that situation, Jaden Daniels, there's been no one better this season. So I said it with the Lions game, which is why I think I said 33-28. I said if they can keep it close, a one-score game, there's no one I trust more than Jaden Daniels. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think the Commanders should handle the Eagles. I don't think it should be close, simply because of Jalen Hurts. Now, again, if they can't contain Saquon Barkley, and that's not a task most people have been able to do, anything's possible because he can take any play and turn into a 60-yard touchdown, make one guy miss, and he's out of there. So
With just him alone, it's guaranteed like 14, 21 points.
I think so. But I also think that if the same Commanders team that played Detroit shows up, I think we could make the Super Bowl, man. I really, really do.
He won St. Gonzalez in the Super Bowl.
I don't.
I don't think that's somewhere he should even be sniffy. He can watch the Super Bowl at home.
But that
He did.
Eagles Rams game was very. Here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and say luck. I'm not going to hate on a division rival. I hate them being a division rival, but that game just played perfectly into their hands. It really did. The snow wasn't much of a factor until about late in the third, early fourth, and then it really started to come down, but it was a close game. And that just pretty much took all of the Rams' strengths away and just completely neutralized the fact that Jalen Hurts was injured. And just when it gets bad like that, passing becomes less of an option. Guys are slipping and sliding. You can't really drive on the ball. It's harder to drive into them throws. So it turned into a running game. Who's going to
I
be
mean,
the only team that could potentially outrun the Eagles were the Ravens, and they just got knocked off too. So
Ky I like Kyron Williams on the Rams. He's no slouch. He's had a great year himself,
he
but
had a terrible game. He fumbled. He's part of the reason they lost. Unfortunately, he fumbled deep into their own territory, which gave the Eagles, I think, 6 points.
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, you can just you don't even have to look at stats to even notice. Jalen Hurts 15 for 20, 128. Matthew Stafford 26 for 44, 324.
Look, don't
So
let
you
those
see,
stats fool you though, because I got into a debate with a follower of mine, actually a great dude. Um, I think Matthew Stafford's like the main reason they lost, if we're being completely honest with you. He stunk the joint up for about 3 quarters. He had like took some bad sacks. A lot of those yards were kind of garbage time. In the last two drives, I think they put up 140 something yards because the Eagles had already had a nice cushion at that point. I think it was 28 to it's like 28 to 15 or something. Like
yeah,
the game was over. And now all of a sudden, because they're playing soft zone and they're chilling out a little bit, all of a sudden the Rams go down the field twice for like I said, it was a combined like 140 yards and like 90% of it was passing. I hate to do the take that away, but you take that away, Stafford's at like 200, under 200, I think. And yeah, that those last two drives made it look a lot better than it was. And I love Matthew Stafford, but it was crazy because the snow became a factor for Rio in the fourth quarter. There were a couple of plays like he probably should have hit Puka, but he slipped. He tried to drive on a ball, slipped. He would have had a touchdown. So that was unfortunate for them, but it was really Matt Stafford and then a little dash of Kyron Williams in there. I could be wrong, but okay, I am wrong. I thought Kyron Williams fumbled twice. He fumbled once, but Stafford fumbled twice. So
that's the problem with playing in LA. Is like Matt Stafford's been playing. He played in Detroit pretty much all his career. He knows snow. He understands it. This is no new thing. And also playing from behind, like that's kind of what he's done. Made his name off his career too. Like one of the best sound effects highlights on NFL is Matthew Stafford against the Browns playing with a broken
yep,
shoulder,
I know
still throwing
exactly
with
what you're
that,
talking about.
getting that touchdown. So it's not like this is like uncharted territory or like something that he's not used to or that he's not comfortable in. But I do think like all the rest of his team though is kind of like not built for was built for that moment.
He's
And
38.
they couldn't read the defense for the life of them that game. Like the Eagles defense, they're pretty good
Oh
with
yeah.
what they do.
Oh yeah.
So it's not to
Eagles are
discredit
stacked.
anything. Yeah, it's not to discredit anything that Stafford couldn't do, but it's like the Eagles just had the better team at the end of the day. And that's kind of just what happens sometimes, like the better team wins.
I saw an old Kurt Warner interview. I don't know how old it is. It could have been this season for all I know, but I'm pretty sure it's a little bit older. Where basically he's like, I think every team should have a dome. He was like, dude, I played in good weather all year long. I don't know how to play in the cold. And I kind of get it, but they're not going to have that advantage this weekend because the Commanders are only 2 hours away and we get the same weather. So we practice outside actually. In fact, we heated our field up because we practice outside. We do have a bubble that we use, but that's only if the weather's so bad, like
Why
torrential
does heating a
downpours.
field up? Like they just have like heaters underneath the turf?
I was literally talking to the wife about it this weekend. I don't know because I was watching the game and you could see all of the markers, the yard markers, and then the lines were all clear. And I was like, well, did they just have guys come out and clear it during halftime? Do they have heaters under the field? I don't know how they do that, but I'm going to assume, yeah,
Timeouts.
I'm going to assume they got heaters under the field somehow because that's all I heard was that we were trying to heat and we did. We successfully heated up our practice field and we practiced outside the other day. So they're not going to have that advantage this weekend. We're not from LA, baby. So they don't have the cold on their side. And honestly, I don't even think it's going to be that cold. We were in single digits this week down here for us, like actual single digit temps. And I think it's going to be like in the 30s, almost 40s. I'm not going to say that's nice, but it ain't that cold. So
You
I
gonna
think
make it to Philly? You gonna watch the Commanders play the Eagles?
so. I was trying to go, but I was thinking I could get 2 tickets for about 800, not a singular ticket for about 800. So I'm gonna stay my ass in the house and yell at the TV instead.
That expensive, isn't it?
It really is that expensive. Like I said, I was thinking I could get 2 tickets for about 8. It's about 1 is about 8. I ain't
Which is still
spending
crazy, by the
1,600
way.
this
Like,
weekend. The
obviously,
price
like,
difference, did you see the price difference? For
I did
Arrowhead
not.
and bro, the cheapest get in at Arrowhead was like 264. The cheapest get in, and I don't know which seats they saw because I didn't see those. For
For the
Lincoln
playoffs?
Financial, yes, for this conference game right now. I retweeted it. It was like I said, it was like 264 for Arrowhead and then like 580 for Lincoln Financial. And when I looked last, the cheapest ticket I could find was like 620. And somebody said the cheapest they could find for Arrowhead was 304. That's still a massive difference. Like absolutely massive difference. So yeah, I was at first I was absolutely like, yeah, I gotta go, potentially once in a lifetime. But I was like, you know what? Jaden Daniels is that dude. There will hopefully be more of these. And hopefully next time we'll be able to host one. So that I'll definitely go to.
So I'm looking right now. The cheapest I can find is 596
For NFC or AFC?
NFC. It says
Yeah,
standing room
590.
only
Yeah.
though.
Honestly, I don't mind too much about standing. I mean, anyone that goes to a game knows you're going to stand 90% of the game anyways.
But it's like in like these corner. I've never seen this stadium before. It's like in the corners of
Yeah, I haven't been to the link either. I've been to I don't know what the name of the basketball stadium is for the Sixers. I've been there, but I haven't been to the link. Um Now, I think part of that could just be that this whole the DMV area, and even up to Philly ain't that far out. Um, it ain't cheap to live out here, so that's part of it. I don't know what the cost of living is in Kansas City, but it could be that. But it could also be the fact that this is I don't want to say a regular game for the Chiefs, but they've been here so many times in the past, however long Patrick Mahomes has been starting, what 6 years, that I guess they might not have to tax so much, for their AFC Championship. Maybe they want. It's crazy because the higher the prices, the less likely you have your diehard fans in there. I mean, not that you didn't, but obviously when you have $600 tickets, you're really limiting the tax bracket of fans that can show up. It's why going to Knicks games is so tough for me because it's just always stupid expensive to get into MSG. At least
yeah.
now because we're good again. So, but alas, hopefully, like I said, there will be some more NFC Championship games in our future, and if we can win our division, we'll be able to host one potentially.
And if not, then you'll be look back and tell your kids, "Well, I could have seen them, but
So we
money's not
are
that high."
at an hour and 2 minutes already. We're killing the game as always. So I say we speed it up just a touch here, because we do still want to talk a little bit of NBA. So I have here our results so far. We'll run through them real quick and then we'll give our predictions for the conference championship games. So as of right now, I'm sitting at a nice 7-3. I took a loss on the Vikings. Picked the Commanders to win the first time. I picked the Eagles, the Texans, and the Ravens, as well as the Bills. And then for the second round, I got the Commanders beating the Lions. I took a loss on the Rams. I took a dub with KC, and I took a loss picking the Bills. You're sitting at a nice 6-4, just one game behind. First round, you took Rams, dub, Bucks, loss, Eagles, win. Then you took the Chargers, that was a loss. The Ravens, that was a win. And you also took the Bills, that was another win. For the second round, you had Lions, they lost. Rams is same as me, they lost. We both picked the Chiefs, that was a dub. You picked the Bills over the Ravens, that was a dub. So we are here, one game away from the Super Bowl. I'll kick us off this time. Eagles Commanders, I think I already said it, so I'm picking the Commanders. Kind of a similar score to what I picked for the Lions. I think the Commanders can put up over 30 again. So I'm going to go 31-21 Commanders over the Eagles. Out in the AFC, we have Kansas City and we have Buffalo. This is risky. But I'm going to pick your guy, Josh. And I'm going to go with the Bills. And I think it's going to be more of an offensive game. We're going to go with a solid 34-31 game-winning field goal for Buffalo. What you got for me?
Well, you pretty much picked both of mine, so now if I want to have fun with it, I could just choose either the Chiefs or the Bills. I got the Commanders winning because I didn't know about the Jalen Hurts thing until you said that. But even before, like looking at these last four teams, like I'm not trying to sit here and glaze. I'm not trying to sit here, be all high and mighty on like the Commanders or whatnot, because I mean all the other teams are established. But I watch these teams every week. Josh Allen, he finds ways to win what he has. Like he's having an incredible year, but he's not passing the ball to Amari Cooper. Saw today Amari Cooper was talking about, he was asked about his use of the offense. He's only had maybe 8 receptions since he's been traded.
Insane.
He's been useless his entire time in Buffalo, which is crazy to me because he on the Browns he was the number one option.
He's not
So how do you
as good as Stephon Diggs, but like he wasn't that far off to, like you said,
he's
almost be useless.
like he is too talented to just kind of just sit there and just like run a couple routes, and still not get the ball like especially with his frame and his route running ability. Like he's if anything he's in the middle of his prime
He should
and
be
he's
their
being
he should be their top option.
should be, but Josh Allen passed that ball. He'll run it. That's fine. He can be 6'5" and 230 and run the ball he wants, but gotta pass that ball. I mean, like I still don't feel threatened. Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel. I'm not afraid. James Cook, maybe a little bit. Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, the referees.
That's why I said it's
No,
risky.
no getting around that. Travis Kelsey finally got a touchdown. But the Chiefs offensively are more sound in a way that reminds me of my Patriots back in the day
I'm glad you
because
said that.
the whole not one person is the target. Everyone gets the ball. Like they did do the whole one person gets the target, which was Travis Kelsey. Obviously, that worked out last year, and I think this year they wanted to be a little different. They were like, okay, well, how about we let everyone get a touch of the ball? So you're seeing Xavier Worthy do the same thing as Jameson Williams with the run with the out routes, the runarounds. You're seeing um, Kelsey getting shares with the other tight end, Noah Gray. He's scoring more touchdowns than Kelsey this year. Then you still got Kareem Hunt back there, and he's eating.
I forgot about
You
him.
got he got traded back to the Chiefs, and he's finally able to eat the success that he had to miss out on because of that altercation back in the day. Like they just find ways to win, but that defense doesn't scare me at all because they're not really they're like a mid defense at best in this league right now. And the only reason they're winning is because Mahomes and the referees they got to do it. They're following the script. Taylor Swift, she's right there. You got to make that money. And I know you mentioned earlier about the Ravens game. If anything, they kind of got lucky that Mark Andrews dropped that 2 point.
They got lucky that having a brain fart on his name. Offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. That guy stinks. I mean, Derrick Henry goes right up the field, 60-some yard drive, unstoppable. And he's like, yeah, we're just not going to run the ball. We're just not going to do it. I'm just like, all they
Yeah,
had
he
to do
got
was run the
60
ball.
carries.
All they
60
had to do
carries
was
is
run the
that's
ball.
criminal, especially in the snow. Like it snows in Tennessee. He knows how to play in that snow. So like you said earlier with Jameer Gibbs, like not feeding your running backs that can actually cause havoc is going to lose you these games. Obviously, like you don't have like running back per se, like with Brian Robinson.
He had a bounce back game in Detroit. I think he was at like 15 for 77 and a touchdown. I was right on the money. 15, 77, but he
Yeah.
had 2 touchdowns.
So I guess for the fun of what we do here, I do want the Bills to win, but I'll go with the Chiefs. If the Chiefs win, it'll probably be like a 25-22 type win.
Okay, I see you. I like that.
But just know I do think the Bills will win instead. But
Funny enough,
for the fun of this, I'll do that.
we're flip flopped. I'm taking the Bills because I'm putting my faith in your guy Josh Allen. But I'm glad you said that it's for 2 different reasons. But you said that the Chiefs are kind of like your Patriots of old. fully agree with that, except what I agree with is as much as I hated him at first, I wound up just loving Tom Brady. And it was one of those things to where I'm like, we're in the playoffs. I can't bet against Tom Brady. That's just stupid. So I feel like it's stupid to bet against Patrick Mahomes, and I'm most likely I think we're gonna wind up with a tie record here going into the bowl because I do think the Chiefs are gonna win. Just because I just Patrick Mahomes is my Tom Brady right now. I don't know if he's gonna hit 7 rings like the GOAT, but he's just somebody that it's probably not a good idea to bet against. And I'm betting against him. But we'll see.
And then with the Eagles Commanders, I mean, now that you said Jalen Hurts is hurt, I literally, no pun intended.
Right.
Uh, and AJ Brown's not getting that ball. Within the past 2 games, 3 catches, 34 yards.
That's crazy because I think he's the best wide receiver in football. Yeah, he had
He's
two
not.
catches. He had 7 targets. He had the most targets out of everyone, but yeah, 2 catches, 14 yards. That was against the Rams. And then
The other week he
Eagles,
played the Packers. He
Packers.
had
Yep.
1 catch for 10.
Yep. Only 3 targets in that game. He's only received 10 targets in the entire postseason. So, oh, excuse me, so far. That is crazy.
And it's funny because Devontae Smith, he got on in the Rams game 4 catches, 21 yards, and their leading receiver was Dallas Goddard, 456. So like this is where we were complaining earlier in the year that the Eagles are getting carried by Saquon. It's literally just how it is. Like I get Saquon's having a monster year. Like this is like Christian McCaffrey last year, except Brock Purdy was actually passing the ball.
Yeah. It
But
helps that they have like the best O line in football as well. So, I mean, it's people were like, I mean, we agree, like, yeah, Saquon's carrying them, but I mean, is that not the smart thing to do, right? You have one of the potentially the best running back in the league. You know, you can make the argument Saquon, Derrick Henry. I wouldn't hate either one of those guys if you say that's the best back, but potentially the best running back in the league, and you have the best O line in the league. That's just smart ball.
at some point that's not going to work. You might they're if my in my opinion they're due for a bad game rushing wise.
I hope
And I know earlier in the year everyone complained that like man Jalen Hurts doesn't pass, doesn't do this. And then the one game he decided, you know what, we're gonna pass.
he went
Oh,
off, didn't he?
he went off. The interview he changed doing his diamonds were doing the bachata.
I remember that. I don't mind Jalen
Ridiculous.
Hurts, man. I like him as a person. I hate that he's an Eagle, but I like him as a person.
He's like, so this is what y'all want? And it's like, yes, because you can be more successfully sound if you're not just running straight running back. Because like in my opinion, if you end up going to the Super Bowl and winning, it's not going to be because you played quarterback great. It's just because you've had a great offensive line and you got Saquon Barkley. It's not anything to do with you.
They might have the
Eh,
it's crazy because they might have the best wide receiver duo in the league. There's a couple others up there, Cup and Puka, and then Mike Evans and Godwin when Godwin's healthy. But like I said, I think AJ Brown's the best receiver in football, and you already know I think Devontae Smith would be number one on at least 28 other teams. It's crazy.
and if you and you see the production you're getting out of that team right now. It's pretty much been like this all year, granted, but that's where I just lose my faith in the Eagles because the Commanders are on a tear right now. And I really try not to glaze. Like I try to look at this stuff black and white. I really do like try to
Nah,
like
glaze
analyze it.
away, glaze away.
That's why I haven't picked the Commanders for like the past 2 weeks because it's like statistically like these teams are on paper a little bit better. I Baker Mayfield, I would choose him over Jaden Daniels. Uh, and that week it made more sense. The Lions, Jared Goff, Jaden Daniels, choosing Goff. He's been there. Lions are one of the best teams in the NFC. They get smoked. So it'd be stupid to not say that the Commanders aren't the team to beat out of all 4 of them,
I like
rather
that.
than like the obviously the Chiefs are like defending champs, but their whole season has been bound by luck and refs. It feels like almost rather than like pure talent and play calling. So that's why I got the Commanders beating the Eagles. Probably like, to be honest with you, like maybe like 29-14.
Yeah, you think? I'm not like I'm
Because
not
if they don't pass that
inclined to
ball, then
disagree. They've been struggling to hit that 20, but yeah, they hit 28, but they needed again, just like the Packers game. They needed a kickoff fumble, opening kickoff fumble, kind of gift wrapped at them 6 points. and
No,
they only scored
that's a little
22.
too low. I'm gonna go 29-18. That's my final one. 29-18.
Okay. I like that odd scores. I wonder if that's a scoregami or not.
Nah, definitely not.
You don't think so?
But it's just hard to trust Jalen Hurts, especially if his PCL's hurt. You gotta put Kenny Pickett in. You think they're gonna
I don't know if that's
Pickett's
like
gonna hit targets?
confirmed. I think it was one of those like Twitter medical doctor guys, but if I don't remember what I always forget what his name is. But I think he's one of the guys that tends to be right. But he was like looking at this and da da da. This looks like a PCL to me. I don't know if they actually confirmed what it is, but it's definitely a knee injury. He's definitely wearing a brace. That was just confirmed a couple hours ago, and it was very evident in that game that he was in pain and he just wasn't. He doesn't have the mobility he usually has. Um,
His name Mike Garafolo.
no, I think it's like sports doc or something like that. It's not Chow or Cho, whatever his name is. It's the other guy, the white guy.
Well, for what it's worth, all those medical reports are correct though, because they're coming off for like the NFL and
Yeah.
USA Today are all confirming the same thing because it was in a press conference.
Okay. See, I didn't see that yet. Uh, but yeah, if it was an ACL, he probably wouldn't be playing. But
I
that
mean,
checks out.
Philip Rivers played with the torn ACL.
That's true, but I feel like with
He
the
damn near beat
yeah,
the Patriots
you're
to it.
right. You're right. But
You know what they do? Just get that horse tranquilizer, just shoot it up.
Perk Rogers, baby. But all right. Before we completely wind up with a 2-hour episode, let's try to rapid fire some NBA here because I want to talk about it. We said we were going to talk about it. So, real quick, since we haven't talked too much about it, we had one episode, I think. I am also a Knicks fan. And how that comes about is I was a huge Carmelo Anthony fan, and I kind of just stuck with the Knicks because that's where he spent the bulk of my fandom. So to finally see us on top, but more importantly, two All-Star starters, both Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns were named as NBA All-Star starters this weekend. I could not be more excited. Um, but I do know another hot topic is LaMelo Ball potentially being snubbed. More so probably by Donovan Mitchell because Jalen Brunson, 26 and 7, shooting almost 40% from three. He definitely was not the answer. But Donovan Mitchell, I kind of am inclined to agree that I think LaMelo Ball, as an individual, is having a better season than Donovan Mitchell. And I know you're a Hornets guy, so what's your take here? Are you mad? Do you agree?
Uh,
Disagree?
so fun fact, I actually got into basketball because I was a Rajon Rondo fan. Rondo was my favorite player, so I was inclined to be a Celtics
Yeah,
favorite at the time. But then as I was like, let me actually like not be a bandwagoner because I was like around when they won the championship anyway. So I
yeah,
was like, well, I'll kind of see what I like. Charlotte Bobcats, obviously,
nice.
then they get bought. They trade the name, bought out, whatever. Then Kemper Walker comes to our team. I'm thinking, man, you know what? I'll be a Bobcats fan, or I'll be a Hornets fan, and it sucks. It really does suck. You don't. We're not successful. We don't do anything. Like I didn't like Michael. That's just why I say LeBron's better than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan can't own a team outside of NASCAR. I like 2311 as a NASCAR team. Keep that. Don't mess with the basketball. You're
Yeah, we
better
all
at the
know
players.
LeBron owns the Raptors, LeBronto.
So I don't disagree, or I'm sorry, I don't agree that he was snubbed.
Really?
I
Why is that?
I think well the reserve by this recording the reserves aren't out yet
Okay. Yep.
because obviously they do all stars first and then they do reserves like next day or day after or something like
Yeah,
that.
typically.
So I'm sure he'll make it because another player like him, Trey Young, he didn't make the All Star list, but he'll probably be on the reserves list too. Same with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, but I'm just naming them because they're similar position, point guard, pretty much point guard, shooting guard. Um, when you look at how he was this season, but he plays 29 games out of the 40 that we've played so far.
True.
When you're missing games, you can't expect to be an all star. Like I get he's averaging 29, 5, and 7, Like that's a crazy stat line.
It's
Have
elite.
11 wins.
Yeah. And like you
No
said, he
winning.
missed what, 14 games?
11.
11? I'm bad at math.
Because we're at 20, yeah, 11 and 29 right now. We are we're pretty much bottom of the barrel. We're not the bottom. We're not the worst team in the world.
You're not the Wizards. But
Might as well
unfortunately,
be.
I looked this up. It was about the lockout season, I think. The Charlotte Bobcats have the worst record ever.
They do. They're gonna have because they only had 6 wins the entire year.
It was a lockout season, though. There wasn't a full 82 game season.
Still, 6 games is still kind of wild to just.
Hey, that's where the Wizards are at right now, right?
Yeah, they just got to win one more game, and they'll be like the second worst team in history.
But I
But
mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. It is hard to miss that much time and get in over other players.
yeah, like you see Donovan Mitchell, he's he's not having like all like the craziest stats in the world, but he's winning.
36 and 7.
What they do works. It's like the pieces we have around Lamelo. They couldn't even play with Melo, and as soon as Lamelo gets back, we lose Brandon Miller
Yeah.
to a wrist injury. He just had surgery. Now he's out for the year, which blows me to pieces because that's, in my opinion, he's my new guy. Like I was so happy to get Lamelo, but I was even happier to get Brandon Miller. Like I think
Really?
this should be his team because obviously with the draft was that draft. Wembenyama was kind of the guy. Like you
Yeah.
can't beat that. You're not going to get rookie of the year, whatever.
Generational so far.
Yeah, like you can't be mad at that. But with what we have in Brandon Miller is exceptional. And I think people fail to understand that because they think, oh, Lamelo Ball, he's gonna garner the jersey sales, the ticket sales. He's the big name on the board. We paid him for an max extension. But when's the last time he's played a full season? 3/4 of a full season.
He is. He's injuries have been huge for him, and unfortunately, that doesn't get easier when you get older.
So whenever you want to talk about All Star, I can't even think about the All Star game. I can't. I'm just trying to think of even getting above 500 for once.
Just get me to the end of the season, man. It's tough.
Like
We've
I just
talked about it. It's tough when you're a small market team. It's hard to bring free agent guys in, so you need to hit on your picks, but your picks also have to play.
Yeah, like we can attract as many names as we want, but if we're not making the right moves, if we're not choosing the right coaches, and if we're not collectively playing our best ball, we're not going to get anybody to come play for us. We're not going to get anybody to want to come be around LaMelo Ball or Brandon Miller. And it's almost like we don't. Our group of guys just don't work, whether it's injuries or whether it's just the location or just like the team chemistry. Because I don't know, I don't understand how this team pretty much the starting five has been the same for the past couple years outside of Mark Williams and Brandon Miller. Like we just traded away Nick Richards and he has one of his best games of his career.
You guys need a
Like
big bad.
But Mark Williams also followed up with one of his best games. Like he's a great big. It's just he had a back injury that kind of sat him for a little bit.
That's
I
hard for
so
a big too.
yeah, so I don't hate. I like Mark Williams as our center. I do think he is a really great center. He does have a high potential to be a top 5 center in this league, in my humble opinion. But I don't know if it's just coaching or what that we can't figure it out.
He is only 23 years old, but
Yeah, because we got him in the same draft. We could have got Jalen Duren in 2022
I do
because we
remember you
trade
wanted him.
we traded back, and it's just the dumbest thing. I still don't get it. Like we should have just if we were gonna do that, we could have just kept Mark Williams at the
Yeah.
12th pick.
And like I said, it's
And
one of those things to where when you're a small market team, it's no disrespect, but who wants to like willingly go play for Charlotte, Sacramento? Utah.
And his
Like,
and Mark Williams previous game 2 days ago, he put up 38 points, 14 for 18, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and a
yeah, that is
best game yet.
that's a good game.
In about on the literally a week before that, he had 31 points, 12 for 14, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block.
Double
He
double
has that
machine.
potential. He has that potential. Like, I don't know if you remember when we had Dwight Howard on our team, but he was one of like my favorite centers when and for that year. All he would do is get double doubles constantly. He was a rim protector. We needed that pretty bad.
Yeah, that was
And
a
he's
good
also
fit
a
for the
decent
season.
scorer.
Yeah,
And we didn't sign him back. And I was just like, why didn't we sign him back? He's what we need. It's like we want to regress every year. We don't strive to be better. And with LaMelo, I know earlier, like last year, there were reports about him not taking his health seriously. Like whenever he gets hurt, you got to like do these certain things,
rehab
or he's
right.
going to keep re-aggravating, going to keep getting injured. It's been like what 4 or 5 years now. He got drafted in 2020, so
Yeah, I think
I
a lot
think
of
he.
teams are. I think a lot of teams are chasing the Dynasty Warriors success. Where who do they really have as a big? Andrew Bogut. They really relied on having Steph Curry, greatest shooter of all time, and Klay Thompson, another elite shooter. I think a lot of teams are trying to look for that crazy wing combo where you can just light a team up from three, and just a lot of teams are kind of ignoring the big man. And I just
Jared Allen. That's
yeah,
why I wanted Jared Allen on my team. I loved him as a
I do
center.
too. I like Jared Allen. I mean, you
But you
see,
know who we got instead? Gordon Hayward. Nowhere close. 30 mil, 120 mil total, 4 years.
that's why the Knicks made a big push to go get themselves a legitimate big and Carl Anthony Towns. I mean, you look at a lot of these teams. I know Giannis isn't a center, but he's a big four. I mean, you look at a lot of these teams, like OKC has been pretty good, but what they do? They went out and stole Hartenstein from us because they knew they needed a big, you know. Houston
Yeah,
being
I know you were upset with the losing Randall for Cat.
we
I
have
remember.
not
I
we have
was
not touched on this. We have not touched on this in a while. Yeah. Um
I was like, I don't know. Cat's a dog.
It wasn't that I was
Like,
upset for making the move for Cat. I was just a little iffy on what we had sent out for Cat, and it's been a double-edged sword because I was right and I was wrong. We gave up a lot to get him, and right now it is kind of still hurting us. Yes, we're 29-16. Yes, Karl Anthony Towns having the best year of his career, but our defense is not good, and it's the sole reason that right now we're struggling. Like OKC just whooped us twice in a row. If we want to go potentially contend for a championship, that's a team you'd have to beat. I mean, obviously not in the
this,
same conference, but to win it all,
Cat was
they're probably
also
going to be
out
there.
Cat was also out that
He
last game
was.
too. So I mean,
But you look at some of the other top dogs, and I just feel like defense isn't as big of a concern, except for maybe, yeah, it looks like the Cavs are letting more points per game than the Knicks. Um, but out of like the top dogs, only Memphis and Denver give up more. Knicks are right there with the Bucks. They both give up 110.7. Celtics 108, Cavs 111. On the West, OKC only gives up 104. Houston's at 107.8, and then Memphis and Denver both give up 115. So that's what's going to come down to. When you get down to that final, you make it to the last second round or even the Eastern Conference Finals, you're gonna have to play defense. And the Knicks sent out a lot. But like I said, hopefully we can get Mitch back soon. That'll be a big boost to our defense. As of right now, definitely the Knicks won that trade for sure, without a doubt. Julius Randle just hasn't looked very good in Minnesota. I don't even really think that at this point, I hate to say it because I like him as a player and I like him individually, but at this point, I don't even think Dante DiVincenzo is making a difference at all, if it's even a net positive difference.
he doesn't fit the scheme. He doesn't really get, he doesn't get to play
And that was what was crazy is that was supposedly the reason he wanted out, was that he didn't like that he wasn't really gonna have that role, and it looks like his role is almost worse. I mean, all of his numbers are down just across the board. Even his shooting numbers are down. His 3-point percentage is down. He's playing less minutes than he did last year.
Send him to
Um,
Charlotte. Let him shoot. Let him shoot 50 shots a game.
I wouldn't hate it, but I mean, Julius Randle also is. I gotta see. I'm trying to pull up his stat line
I'm almost
now.
sure he's playing exponentially worse.
I'm pretty sure he's still at least grabbing. But actually, no, I think that's what surprised me is that he wasn't grabbing as many boards. Yeah, he's down to 18.9 points per game. His field goal percentage is a little down. His 3-point percentage is actually up from last year, but he's only grabbing 7 boards a game. He's at, basically 19 and 7 right now. In New York, he was at 25 and 10, 24 and 9. So the biggest surprise to me is the rebounds going down, but in that same breath, he is sharing the floor with Rudy Gobert a lot, and he was kind of the main rebounder for the Knicks. Yeah, we had Mitch, yeah, we had Hart, but yeah, it's definitely absolutely working out for the Knicks 100%. And the Timberwolves are kind of just they're not good. We'll put it that way.
They're not
I
good, but
don't
they're not bad.
I'm
I think with them, it's just a lot of team chemistry. It's kind of like the biggest issue.
They are still in the play-in. I mean, technically they're in the playoffs. I mean, they're the 8th seed at 23 and 21. I did think that I really like Anthony Edwards actually. If I were to buy any non-Nick jersey, even before the trade, it was going to be Anthony Edwards. I love that dude. So I do think that I mean, we're about halfway through the season. We're a little over halfway through the season right now. So we can't really say chemistry or gelling at this point. So I was hoping for their sake, because I do still like my Knicks guys. I was hoping that they were going to be, I don't know about substantially better, but I was hoping they were going to be better. I'll put it that way.
I don't know. I just don't have faith in that team chemistry. Ants had said like we play soft. He's been very open in these interviews about how they play,
Big reason why I
how
like
they.
him.
I still remember the clip of Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert getting upset about passing the ball to a point. I think Randle got caught with a 3-second violation in the lane.
I've seen a couple of
And
clips where it's like they almost refuse to pass Rudy Gobert the ball, and it's like kind of funny. I don't know why. I feel like people just genuinely don't like Rudy Gobert.
I mean, after that COVID instance, I mean,
That
he
was
has not had a good look.
no, not at all. But
Uh,
I think we can start to wrap it up here. We're at an hour and a half now. We obviously are going to have a lot more NFL to talk about next week with Super Bowl coming up. And before we officially say our goodbyes, is there anything you would like to bring up real quick?
Actually, yes, there is a NASCAR paint scheme that I sent you
Okay, what you
that
got?
NASCAR had. It was they had banned it. It was the 45 Jordan car with the unbannable.
I gotta check my other Twitter.
I think I'm pretty sure I sent that to
I,
you.
s- yeah, the last one you sent me, the 45
Yeah,
back again. They banned that?
it's back. It's back now.
Oh, it was banned. Yeah, that's cold. Hold on. Let me see
Yeah,
if I
so
can.
the reason they banned it was
I don't know if you guys
because,
are gonna see this well enough. Oh yeah, you can. That's pretty
it was
sweet.
because of the lawsuit that was going on right now currently with NASCAR and 2311 or for
I like
Motorsports.
that a lot.
And the whole premise of the scheme was, kind of like making light of the whole court case and what's going on and whatnot, because the courts are saying like, hey, yeah, NASCAR, you still got to pay these teams.
Oh yeah,
We're not just gonna make them like free chargers during this a whole like investigation and this whole like court case, because this is like a big deal
I remember you
for
telling me.
for the whole sports world. So they had this scheme, and then they said, yeah, we can't do that. Now, NASCAR can ban paint schemes
It's so
depending on
stupid.
what they are.
So
I
stupid.
mean,
I understand like images or graphics or words, but like the the scheme, the color combo, it's a little weird. I am
no,
still
it's
very
not.
much a
It wasn't
NASCAR
because
noob.
it wasn't not the color combo, but as much
Okay.
as like the meaning of it.
Okay, that
So like
it's
the name of it being like unbannable,
soft.
it's like It's very soft. But then they released it back. They said, you know what, it's fine.
It's
You guys
cold.
can use it.
I like that.
So I like that paint. That's one of like that might be the best paint scheme for the class because the first race of the NASCAR season is the Clash, but and that's like the week before Daytona, but no one really like cares about the Clash like that.
That's right after the Super Bowl, yeah?
No, that is the same day. If I
Oh,
if I'm correct,
that sounds like a
let me
mistake.
look this up.
Like I
It'll
said,
be
guys, I am
very
very much so a NASCAR noob, but I'm trying to learn because as we end football season, my guy Vic here is a big NASCAR guy, so we are going to start talking some more NASCAR.
I take that back. It is on the second week on the February, so it is during the AFC NFC Championship game,
Oh, that sounds like a mistake as well. But the
and
NFL
then
did move there. I mean, adding that game, they moved things back. I guess they didn't really move things back because they cut a preseason game.
how NASCAR works is that you have your Clash, which is like it's a race, but it's not like an actual like points matter type of race,
It's like
know.
preseason then.
Yeah, pretty much. Like they used to have the Clash at Daytona, then they had it at the LA Coliseum, which was like quarter mile to a half mile,
Hmm,
but they only run like 20 cars at a time.
interesting.
And then obviously, like, a certain threshold make the cut, and then they run another heat where a certain threshold make the cut, and then they run a final race, which is like 100 laps or something like that.
Oh, kind of like
And
that.
then on Thursday, the 13th of February, they run duels. So the duels are mainly for qualifying to make the Daytona 500. So if you're not a full time driver, so like if you're like a part time or just doing this as like a one off, like Travis Pastrana would do it, or any old race car driver, not full time or part time, they can enter in to qualify for the Daytona 500.
Hmm.
And with the duels, obviously, if you're a full time driver, it doesn't matter except for like the paycheck, and I think it's like it matters for qualifying position too. Outside of like regular qualifying, so like if you like win the duels or something, I think you get like position one or position two, something like that. And then you have your Daytona 500, which is on the 16th, the week after the Super
See that makes sense. But again, like you said, with it kind of being almost like essentially like a preseason, it's not that big of a deal that it's during the same week. But I
Bowl.
actually really
Right.
like how they do that. I feel like that would, I need to definitely tune in because I feel like that's a perfect time to kind of familiarize yourself with like structure and even drivers, like you said, with it being sounds like it's a little bit smaller to start. So it's a little bit less to figure
Bowman
out.
Gray is one of those. Bowman Gray is one of those like classic old stadiums that's been around since like the 60s, 70s. Like
That sounds like a good
small,
time.
small time, whatnot. They still use the stadium for late models, and late models are like a lot different style of car, but they do run on you can run late models on dirt or asphalt, but and
Hmm.
these are like asphalt type of late models,
Yeah.
and the stadium is known for its aggressive fights.
Really?
Like it's
Like
it,
fan
it's what
fights or drivers?
no drivers.
Oh, okay, like on the like actually in the race, not like fist fights.
Yeah, in the race, like,
Okay,
like
okay.
one ju
Alright, I was gonna
like,
say, yo,
in
we're
a sen
throwing
it
down.
no, so it's, like, in a sense that, like, if a driver, gets wrecked, he'll get out of his car, throw his
Oh
helmet.
yeah. Oh
Because
yeah.
there has been times where another driver intentionally wrecked driver that wrecked him, and then that would cause, like, a little fight too, but they'll throw some fists. We
It's like
actually had a
hockey,
fist fight.
man.
We had a fist fight last year at the, All-Star race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. clocked Kyle Busch, and it
I
just
think I
it
saw that
started
on social media.
I think I should because I
You
almost wanna
probably
say I
sent
shared
it,
that with
yeah.
you.
You most likely did. That's hilarious. I think they should do it like hockey, man. Should be able to just pull over in the pits and throw down real
We
quick.
we say the same thing, but then it's like once they do like NASCAR will advertise it, and then they'll find $50,000, which is ridiculous in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like Ricky, like because of that fight last year, like NASCAR was advertising like, oh man, Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse are fighting. Man, this is a feud that's been lasting for so long. They fined Ricky Stenhouse $75,000. That's like
Damn.
that's the biggest fine in NASCAR history.
Damn.
On top of they banned his dad uh indefinitely, and then crew chiefs got
What is this sport? I
suspended.
love it. I hate it and I love it at the same time. Do they even make like that kind of money to be fined? Like, I feel like NFL players aren't getting fined all that. I mean,
So I'll give
you gotta
you.
be like old school, like Vontae Burfict, like to get that kind of fine. Like what?
You would imagine.
That's
So like then that.
insane, guys.
So
75K for
NASCAR.
fisticuffs.
So NASCAR, the way they work is like purse money, pretty much. So everyone has like a different kind of contract. So like you can have like a performance contract where like if you get certain positions, you lead certain laps, boom, this is then you're gonna get paid this much. And obviously, if you win, it skyrockets. So then like it's like you're really betting on yourself. Or you could take a regular contract. It's pretty much hey, you get this much base pay. You can get up to this much for how you perform or whatever.
Hmm,
More like guaranteed money.
that's interesting.
So
Kind of like boxing and MMA.
essentially, like with a purse, though, not all of it goes to one person.
MMA,
It all
UFC.
the purse gets divvied up into all the 36
A
drivers.
pool.
Yeah, obviously, like the guy who wins is gonna get like 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, however much,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
on top, and then they got to pay out the purses because of the TV. They got to pay out the commercials. They got to pay the executives who run NASCAR because they're gonna always want that pretty penny.
Oh yeah.
Then they're gonna divvy it up between all 35 other losers.
So I mean, they're making money, but I still feel like 75K is a lot. Like I said, you don't even see NFL guys. The NFL guys are getting fined like 5, 10, 15, 25,000. That's insane.
But certain races are worth more than other races,
Oh
like the
yeah.
dates. So the Daytona 500, the championship race, the Coca-Cola 600, the Southern 500. It's
Oh,
really blowing your
races.
mind that I bet it's blowing your mind that I even know like all these names right now.
It's just creative. It really is. I'm just like, yo, all these races, like, what? It sounds like bowl games in college. Chick Fil
But
A
like
Bowl,
those are like
Rose Bowl.
those are staple races that have been in for like a long time. Because the way NASCAR used to work was back in like the 80s and stuff is like whoever wins the most money is the champion for that year.
Hmm.
So like
I mean, that kind of
what
makes
if what
sense. You won the most money. You won races. Yeah.
but it would make no sense though at the same time because one race they would only pay out like 250,000 versus like for like that's just for a small race versus like a big time race like the Southern 500 pretty much was like it used to be like the biggest purse race ever at Darlington. That would pay up to like back in the day, like buku bucks, like 650, 700,000. And
Yes. Yeah.
and one
Yeah.
guy, all he did was
I
win
see
that
the
one
problem.
race.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all he did was win that one race, while Richard Petty would won like 14 races that year. He got second
Damn.
because that prize money that he won back then didn't matter as much as that one race.
That's crazy.
But like usually the average is usually like $7, $8 million per purse. And obviously the lower series are different. The Xfinity series is like a 1 million, 2 million total purse, and then trucks is like not even breaking a million,
Ugh.
like 700, 800,000.
I mean, it's still a lot of money, but like you said, when you're splitting it up in a purse, it's like, ugh. I'm looking forward to getting into some NASCAR though, man. This stuff sounds actually pretty interesting. It's a lot more. It's a lot more than I thought.
And the new NASCAR game's coming out this year. Haven't had a new NASCAR game in a couple of years, and it's
Really?
going to be ran by the guys that run iRacing. And iRacing is it's a simulation type of
I've
game
actually
that's been
heard of
around
them.
for
Yeah.
so long.
I
So
do know my games, people.
they've been so trusted. Like I get on iRacing sometimes. It's on my YouTube channel too, and like trying to control it. And the biggest part for me this year is like how in NBA you have your career mode.
Yeah.
They
Um,
got that in NASCAR. Now NASCAR's always had it, but it's not had been, like, as, like, refurbished as it was back whenever the PlayStation 2 was out and whatnot. Like, now you start in, like, the lower ARCA series, which is, pretty much the bottom tier,
yeah,
and you can build your own team up to
that's
go
pretty
to the
cool.
trucks, the Xfinity, to cup races, and, like, you make your own team and try to be successful under that, nature.
That's pretty
But
cool.
those games are tough, though, because if you set that difficulty to hard mode, you gotta know, like, "Alright, how much wedge am I gonna put in my car to make it how tight do I wanna be? How loose do I wanna be
You actually got to know
through
your
these
stuff.
corners?"
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really it's a whole thing,
I play that shit
but
as a
it's fun
rookie.
it is very, very fun, though, because
I'm looking forward to it.
I might put that type of content on my YouTube channel.
Absolutely, I'll tune in for sure. It's a good way to learn too, outside of
Oh,
watching more races.
definitely. But if if that's all that we have to talk about, that's pretty much all I've had to say.
I do. I think this is definitely going to be our longest episode. So definitely
I
looking
know
forward to talking
I
more
kinda let that
NASCAR.
go by.
No,
I kinda did explain that a lot, but I mean,
it's good for people that
it's a lot to know.
well, the NASCAR people that do know what you're talking about. But like I said, for me trying to learn it so that we can prep here, like I said, we're going to be definitely bringing some more NASCAR content to you guys. So that's helpful for me to review as well. But I'm definitely all out of talking points for this episode until we get to Super Bowl weekend here.
Hopefully, the Commanders come out this weekend with a big, strong W, make it to the Super Bowl.
I'm certainly hoping that as well, and you guys will certainly be hearing from me one way or the other. But that will do it for this episode. Thank you, Vic, for your hour and 45 minutes tonight, and see you guys next week.